What is up, guys? I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and we're back with some more r/entitled parents. If you're new here, please consider hitting that like, that subscriber, maybe that notification bell too. Thank you very much to the members of our channel. And with that being said, let's get straight into today's stories. Much love, guys. Our first story comes from Aru Saria 2024. I do hope I got that right. EK and the prawn shells. I was reminded of this while having a chat to someone tonight. Years ago, a relative of mine on my mother's side owned a restaurant, which was the biggest mistake of his life. He used to open on Christmas Day for a big seafood buffet, which was always packed, but he always had trouble getting staff to work it. So my family, mum, dad and I, plus one of my dad's relatives, would dutifully go down there and work for the day, for free. It was always an absolute nightmare. About 250 people all stuffing their faces on as much seafood as they could fit in for a set price. So my dad was a pretty no-nonsense type guy, very professional, very poised under stressful conditions, a true gentleman. He was dutifully doing whatever he needed. Work roles were pretty fluid because we were all just helping out for free. You just did whatever you saw needed doing, whether that was putting out more food, clearing tables, taking drinks orders or putting dishes through the dishwasher. My dad walked past his table and EK, about 12 years old and the size of a whale, with a plate absolutely stacked to the brim with fresh prawns, sticks his arm out as my dad goes past and says, "Give me a beer." Dad just laughed and went to keep walking. EM says, think Dolores Umbridge. EK just asked you for something. Dad raised an eyebrow. No, he didn't actually. He demanded I serve him alcohol, which is against the liquor license. EM giggles. Oh, now, it will just be between us. Dad says no and walks away. EK then starts peeling prawns and dropping the shells on the floor. My dad very politely fetches him a bowl for him to put the shells in. EK keeps dropping them on the floor. My dad asks him to stop. EK smirks at my father and says he can pick them up, he's nothing but the help. My dad was less than amused, but maintained his composure. He was giving up his Christmas Day, working for free, and this little snot calls him the help. So my dad just quietly goes and gets a dustpan and brush, bends down and sweeps up the prawn shells. As he turns, he slips and EK ended up with the prawn shells all over his head, down their shirt and into their lap. Much shrieking ensues, but my dad just shrugs and walks away. He was also banished to work behind the bar for the rest of the day to keep him away from EK, but he was our hero for that little action. I say, good for dad in that situation. Little revenge on EK. But what's with the EM trying to get beer for their son? What the hell? Our next story is from Mag Phoenix. Kid steals something, EP thinks he should get to keep it. So I'm a long time lurker of this subreddit, first time post. This happened to me like 5 years ago. On mobile, so formatting, etc. Me, EP entitled parent, B, my boss. So I used to work in a smaller metro version of a certain supermarket in the UK. It wasn't big enough to be an actual supermarket, but it was bigger than a normal convenience store. As such, we had trolleys, not the really deep ones, just the shallow ones. There were 3 self-service checkouts and 3 tills. However, we were short-staffed and I was the only one manning the tills. Luckily, we weren't that busy. Anyway, this EP takes their trolley that is loaded with stuff to the self-service. There are about 2 to 3 people in the queue, and to be honest, whenever anyone takes the trolley to the SS, 90% of the time there's a problem because they don't scan it and put it on the scales. They put it on the trolley, and yeah, people are dumb. She had a kid with her who was like 5 to 6 maybe. The kid comes over near the tills. I'm serving people, but I'm watching this kid because his mother certainly ain't. He picks up a chocolate bar from the near tills and goes to his mum, who to her credit is using the self-service properly, and I can see him asking for the chocolate. I don't know what she says, but he puts the chocolate straight in his coat pocket. I finish serving my last customer and I don't say anything yet, given the benefit of the doubt. I thought maybe the mum just told him to hold on to it or something, but I noticed she gets to the point of paying and all her food was stacked up over the weight. This is important. But she hadn't scanned the chocolate, so I called over to her. I said, "Excuse me, your kid has chocolate in his pocket." EP says, "I just scanned it, I'm going to pay for it." I said, "No you didn't, I've been watching you." He went, "Oh, for fuck's sake, it's only a chocolate. Does it matter when I'm spending over £50? I was a bit shocked at just how she switched, so I was like, yeah, it does matter to be honest, because we can be blamed for stuff going missing. If it's not a big deal, then pay for it. EP went, "Oh, shut up." She turns back around, knocks something and her food and stuff fell off the scale on the floor. Which obviously, if you've ever used these stupid machines, made it kick off with it, place the item in the bagging area, BS. She turns to face me with her hands in the air and I just look at her. She said, "Aren't you going to fix this then?" I say, "Are you going to pay for the chocolate your kid took?" EP went, "Right." She takes the chocolate, the kid was now holding it, and literally lobs it towards me, then stomps off to the back of the store. Manager's office is there. I press the bell, which alerts the manager. He comes out and I go after the woman. I said, "Manager, she tried to steal some chocolate, then lobbed it at me. Now she's bitching because I called her out." She starts going off on the manager, saying stuff like, "It's just a chocolate, and we're a massive company, and we have lost a customer." She takes the kid and gets out. B has a straight face, and I'm laughing. And that was that. She came back like 3 days later, without the kid. I was working, and had to serve her, and the whole time she was silent, even though I was sort of silently laughing. "How are you today? Do you have a points card? Have a nice day." One of the many stories from my time working there. The end. I love the fact that she says, "She've lost a customer," yet comes back. Typical Karen mentality, right? Our next story is from Taipan821, entitled Mother vs Search and Rescue. So since people like these stories, here's another one. A mother went missing at a popular camping spot. The family with local volunteers searched throughout the night in difficult terrain to no avail. The next day, we respond to the search area to conduct a more thorough search. 40 searchers, water police, leading agency for searches, and the emergency helicopter arrive. We set up a field headquarters, communication system, including lugging a repeater up the nearby summit, and a rest area for searchers. The helicopter takes advantage of a small beach by the lake, using it as a landing zone. Search parties hit the trails at 7 AM. The time is 10. Yours truly is returning from a trail search. I am the search team leader, and I am at the back of the search party, overseeing my minions, searchers. A female approaches a searcher. There is a conversation, and the searcher directs her to me. Damn it. So this lady approaches. I put in my best customer service face, despite having spent 3 hours rock scrambling in the rainforest. I greet her cordially, and then the insults start. Apparently we woke her family up this morning with our shouting, blowing whistles, and the helicopter, which also throws sand into their camp every time it lands and takes off. She demands we relocate away from the campgrounds to not cause further disturbances. Well, ma'am, unfortunately there is a search and rescue operation going on, so there will be disruptions. If you would like more information, please talk to the people in the police uniforms. Thinking that is the end of it, I keep walking, only to be peppered with sand and small rocks. The lady has pelted a handful of sand at me, shouting, "How do you like it?" Insert expletive. I turn and use my outdoor voice, which can be heard for several hundred meters. This is a tested fact. Police come, the family of the missing person who has witnessed this whole thing comes. The mother's husband comes, the proverbial clusterfuck ensues. The police do their job, the clusterfuck is broken up, and everyone goes into their separate corners. The police caution the mother and order them to pack up and leave because the search may be going for a while. The husband apologises for the wife's actions. I have to be checked over by the paramedic for legal reasons, and all is good. By this time, it's 10:45. The person was found at 11, at the bottom of the range. Apparently she went looking for cell service and was in a healthy state. Imagine being that entitled that you're going to complain about trying to find a lost person. Sure, you'd go and help out rather than complain about it. God damn. Our next story is from DeRosk. Entitled woman doesn't like me bagging her groceries like she asked, and then tries to tell lies about me. Yay, I finally have a story to tell here. So I recently began working in my local supermarket since COVID-19 has temporarily put me out of my job. Today was my third day, and I only recently began learning the process of bagging groceries at the end of the checkout line. So EP approaches the register and tells the cashier and I that she would like us to place the cold items in the same bag. Half her cart was cold items. We were like, okay, and so I began carefully trying to see what was the best way to carefully pack her bag while overstuffing as little as possible. After watching me work with it for about 30 seconds, she says it's okay and asks me to hand the bag over. She then looks me dead in the eyes and tells me that was the worst bagging work she's ever seen. After making eye contact with 2 other employees who were witnessing this, I apologised to her and asked her what she would like. She said it didn't matter and asked me to just start putting her stuff in bags and that she would fix it later. So I finished packing her groceries in her cart and told her to have a nice day, and she just said, "Yep." She leaves. My coworker and I acknowledge what just happened and we think it's over. No such luck. Apparently, when she got to her car, she discovered that I placed a bag of bread and a sealed onion in the same bag when I was putting all of her items in her bags for her to fix later, like she asked. Now, I learned after the fact why this might bother some people, but keep in mind, I literally just started my first ever grocery job and have no concept of many specific things like this that may annoy customers, and it certainly did not merit the way she reacted. I had no idea any of the following was happening until after it was over. This lady came back into the store from her car and pulled aside one of the bakery managers, who have nothing to do with the checkout line, and ranted to him about it. He acknowledged her complaint and apologised. She then left for her car, but then turned around and came back in to a different manager. This time, she found one of the shifts and repeated her complaint. I hadn't yet actually met this manager, but she pointed me out. He explained that I was a new hire, to which she said that was not an excuse. Now, I still don't know for sure what she said about me, but her story apparently contained many embellishments because the other employees who saw what happened felt the need to approach the manager and set the record straight. He acknowledged her complaint and told her that he would talk to me, so then he approached me and told me that she hadn't been reacting appropriately and that she had turned something that needed a minor correction into a massive fiasco. He then introduced himself and that's how we met. Turns out he's pretty cool and we share lots of interests. What annoys me about these stories, and I know it shouldn't really annoy me because it's just about de-escalating the situation, but I just wish there was some sort of power in place for the managers just say, look, you're in the wrong, piss off out the store if you don't like it, you know. But I know there's rules in place for this kind of stuff. Our next story is from Nice Lizards, my toxic ex-best friend. So I've known Bread, that's what I'm choosing to call her, since I was around 9 or 10. And even then, she thought she was deserving of anything I had. For Christmas one year, I think I was 9, my mum gave me a pink video camera. As soon as she saw it, she asked if she could have it. I said no, but I want to videotape my friends when I go to visit them, she whined. This was when she first moved here. My sister suggested she buy a disposable camera, but that's not the same, Bread insisted. As we got older, she began to want my clothes too. Anytime I got a new gift, she insisted on trying it on. If I let her borrow anything, she would ask if I was planning to give it to her, even after I told her I was letting her borrow it. When I was in 10th grade, I was invited to prom by a senior. I bought a beautiful dress that I absolutely love. After prom, Bread insisted I give her the dress. I asked her what occasion she would need my dress for, and why she couldn't just buy her own. She told me she just really loved it, and I might need it someday for a formal event like a gala. Last year, my sister got a license. My grandparents got her a car as a reward. I've never really been too interested in driving. I have a learner's permit, but I'm in no rush to get a license and I prefer public transit. My grandparents thought offering to buy me a car as well would be good motivation for me to get a license. I turned them down and told them it would be a waste of money. I told Bread the next day. The conversation went like this. Bread said, "You should have told them you wanted it and given it to me." The weird part is, she didn't even have a permit yet. I said I couldn't know. The car they were looking at was $10,000. I could never give away a $10,000 gift. She said, if they're willing to pay for it, they could afford it. I said my grandparents would be so heartbroken if I gave away a gift from them. They wouldn't find out. My grandparents live in the same town. If I got the car, my mum would be paying the insurance and my grandparents would have purchased it under my name. So if anything were to happen to the car, my entire family would have been screwed. Bread has done a lot of other things to me, but these small stories are the only ones that fit in the subreddit. It's been months since I've spoken to her, and I couldn't have left that friendship without the support of many of my good friends. Edit. People keep asking me why I remained friends with Bread for so long. The reason is that she always told me that anyone that was nice to me was only being nice out of pity. I was terrified to be alone. Also, our mums also used to be really good friends, and I didn't want to ruin their friendship. And to anyone wondering if I ever gave her any of my stuff, I didn't. Thank God for that. Not only is she a choosing beggar, she's a manipulator as well, which is, yeah, shitty person. Our next story is from Vida Lapa, entitled "Man Calls Cops on Me for Parking My Truck Properly." So this happened like a year ago. I'm doing truck driving in a moving company in the big cities, and due to that, I have to park to some shitty places due to the customers living in crowded places. I had a gig where I have to drive like 150 kilometers to another city to do moving services with a team for a company. So when we got there, we saw that there was construction work going on right next door, which resulted to the part of the sidewalk, which was huge enough for 2 trucks normally because there were a lot of companies there, I assume, being taken by it. Also because I only had one right lane. For safety reasons, I had to park my truck partly on the sidewalk so that cars wouldn't run into each other. I made sure that there was enough room for people to go through without having to go by the car road. By the way, this is completely legal in my country to park during the packing of a vehicle. So it took about 30 minutes and there he was. This is around a 2-hour packing job. This middle-aged guy on a bike ready to conquer the world. EB entitled biker. First he came next to my truck and started taking pictures. I didn't mind because this kind of behaviour is nothing new to me. The entitled biker said, "Hey, you have to move your truck." I said, "No man, I'm in the middle of the work. There was obviously enough room that you could go through." He said, "What if there comes someone with children in a carriage?" Cue a woman walking through with a child carriage, looking confused because we both look at her. I give EB a smile, never stop working by the way. EB says, "You know that parking like this is illegal, right?" I said, "No it isn't, you can look it up if you want." "Move your truck, this is illegal." My co-worker comes from inside to bring more stuff for me to pack into the truck. Co-worker says, "What's going on?" I said, "Some arsehole was trying to make me move my truck, so nothing unusual, just pay no mind." Co-worker 2 says, "Don't you have anything better to do than harass people who are trying to do their job?" Entitled biker says, "Move this truck or I'm going to call the police." We all just smile and leave him to his BS and keep working because we know he can't do anything. The guy then proceeds to make a few phone calls, I assume to our company and the police, and keep spewing his BS. We just ignore it because we have a lot of places to visit and know we'll be doing at least 2 hours of overtime without him bothering us. Around 15 minutes go by. He says, "Move the truck or I'll call the police." I'm now smiling. "Who did you just call now then?" EB goes silent for a minute and keeps on spewing then about my illegal parking actions. Then I saw a police car drive behind his back. They looked at the situation, slowed down, smiled, kept on driving. It was the middle of the day, so by now there are lots of trucks all over the place taking up sidewalks in the area. Post trucks, vehicles bringing food to stores, etc. So I tell him, "Dude, can't you go and harass the other truck drivers? Look around you, man. I'm the only one parked like this, but either way, thanks for the laughs. I really enjoyed this." EB is fuming at this point, so me and my co-workers give up and just tell him to F off. If he doesn't have to pay our salary for the time that we are using with him instead of the customer. He finally decides to leave, but it isn't over yet. EB decides to go and post about this incident to Facebook to all his 100 friends, and my co-workers spotted the post. He was basically rambling how I was an arsehole for parking there and we were disrespectful, and they just thanked me for the laughs they got out of me. First I didn't pay no mind, but then he also ranted about that he was almost fined for calling the emergency number on us, and they warned the EB that if he called again, that he would get fined for disrupting the emergency line or some shit. But yeah, happy ending. It was a long ass day, but we got a lot of good laughs about it, and the construction workers also laughed. What the hell was that about? We even told our boss about it, who also laughed how some people can be that stupid. Sorry about such a long post, and if I have some bad grammar. Remember, I'll inform you that English isn't my first language. Thank you if you made it this far. Fair play to this guy for keeping it so calm through the whole ordeal, because I imagine that was winding him up even more. Weirdly, I've had my neighbour's cat, who somehow got in our house, suddenly sat behind me licking his butthole the whole time here. That's putting me off my region a bit. Anyway guys, a massive thank you for being here today. If you did enjoy these stories, please consider hitting that like, as it massively helps this channel. It's probably one of the biggest factors right now. So if you wouldn't mind doing that, that'd really be helpful. Thank you so much for the time out of your day, and I will see you in the next one. Much love now.